Your hosts are here, Sammie and Michelle. By the end of this podcast, you'll know them well. Adulting, navigating the journey of life. Careers to relationships, pain and strife. Put down the rule book, rethink the status quo. If there's another direction you wanna go, find purpose, passion and mastery in all that you do with Status Post Adulting.
Hey, Status Post Adulting family! This is Sammie
and Michelle,
and you're listening to Status Post Adulting. And today we are talking about not quitting.
Don't quit.
Don't quit.
I'm so excited to talk about this topic, Sammie, because I have been having a lot of really interesting conversations with people who have been reading my writing, asking me questions, wanting to know about things like how to really take and enjoy a sabbatical, how to start new projects.
To be clear, Michelle has been getting famous for not working, as I told my parents. The parents, they love it. Who knew?
As my mom says, we're both helping people.
I'm over there at work, working my booty off, trying to get off to lunch on time, which I never do, because these appointments are 15 minutes long and none of them take 15 minutes. And I make it home for lunch, and I open the door and what do I see? Michelle sitting at her laptop like an evil maniacal leader of some sort of cult, talking to people about what? Nothing. Talking to them about nothing. She is teaching them how to do nothing, which I guess is so hard to do. Does anybody want to ask me how I do my job? No. They want to know, how do we not work? And that's what she's getting famous for.
All right, Sam. I'm glad you got that off your chest.
Thank you.
Back to my main point. A big question people have is they see that I have been off work for the last 2 years. We've been working on this podcast. I started writing. And I have just started getting so excited because we are starting to see the compounding effects of what we've been doing, all of these things that have been adding up over time. And I understand why people are asking about this because, oh my gosh, I remember when we started and we felt like we were going, we showed up every week. We were here every Tuesday ready to smile and put on a podcast. But here's the thing I think nobody likes to admit. We started this podcast, and yes, I knew we were not going to be an overnight success. Obviously, everybody knows that. There's no such thing as an overnight success. Turns out, I guess, in the back of my mind, I did think maybe we would be an overnight success. I thought maybe someone would discover us. Our downloads would be through the roof. I don't even know what success looked like. But it took a couple weeks of seeing that, hey, this was going to be a natural build over time.
Person by person, individual by individual build.
Each one, we chose a medium where growth it's an uphill battle. And the thing is we're so satisfied with what we've done, and now we're really seeing the fruits of that labor, which is why we are now going back in time to talk to you and say, hey, if you're out there and you're starting writing for the first time, if you're launching a podcast, if you have a side hustle where you're making scrunchies and you're selling them on Etsy, whatever that is for you, if you are enjoying it, don't quit. That is our message today. We are here to share why it's important to stick with it.
It's true. Michelle's right. I also thought that maybe this podcast would take off a bit quicker than it did, to be honest. And I do remember, about a year into the podcast, Michelle and I went to Starbucks to do some podcast prep because I had an extra day off. And we started looking at the statistics, which Michelle regularly looked at, but I did not look at very often.
We're sitting in a Starbucks in our nice, bougie suburbs where our parents live. I'm so excited to share with Sammie all the things I have planned for our second year. I've been in it. I have been looking at the numbers. I have been going to classes, master classes that random podcasters would put on. I'm learning everything I can about podcasting. Meanwhile, what does she get stuck up on?
I got stuck up on the numbers because that's the type of person I am. It's not something I'm proud of, but I did care. And especially since at that time, I was working and I was podcasting. Actually, it's the same as now. Working, podcasting, that's it. I barely get time to do my meal prep, and I'm a particular person. I like to prep my meals. And when I see that it seemed like almost nobody was listening to our podcast, it hurt. I remember I felt like tears coming out. I was getting a little angry.
Guys, let me tell you. Okay, Sammie and I, we're at Starbucks. All of a sudden, we have this fight coming, and we are, again, at Starbucks. There are like yoga moms staring at us. We're in a corner, and I'm like, Sammie, what do you mean you're not happy? And she was like, well, Michelle, I think that I thought more people were listening to our podcast. And, the baristas are looking at us. They're mixing up macchiatos, worried that we're about to blow up.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wondering why two girls are overly concerned about their podcast.
Things were getting heated. And I was thinking, should we pivot? Should we change? And you know what? I'm glad that we didn't.
I said, Sammie, I have a vision.
Yes, Michelle had a vision. And, we really had to move from the mindset of how many people are listening? Are we awesome? Are we excellent numbers-wise? To just focusing on creating content every week.
Great memories. Let's get into the topic. Before that, though, in case you missed it, last week, we announced that we are going through a rebrand.
Rebrand.
Next week, we will have a new name, new logo, new song. We are so excited about it. We have been working hard. We have been pulling in the experts to help us. This is not me and Sammie just sitting at our Canva board making stuff up anymore. We have a vision, and we are so excited to share that with you.
That's right, Michelle. And in addition to all the new stuff that we're bringing in, we are also bringing in some awesome partnerships that we are really excited about. The great thing about these partnerships is they really help us reinvest back into our podcast so we can take this experience to the next level. To give you a peek, we are making really big investments like new logos, a new song, and also moving to video. A lot of you have told us, you guys are beautiful, you guys are electric, you're charismatic, and we want to see your faces.
More than just our mother.
More than just our mother. And we know that you have been wanting us to move to video, and we're going to do it. And these partnerships help us do that.
Exactly, Sammie. So we're choosing brands that we're really excited to work with, that we think are good quality brands to work with. Our goal is to introduce you to something new and then also be able to take this podcast to the next level. We're so excited about it. Another part of that too is we will be launching a community section. Our new website and newsletter will be coming from Substack. So next week we'll introduce how you can access that, how you can not only see our show notes, any videos, any topics we want to delve deep into, but also comment, engage with us, engage with other fans of the podcast. We have met so many of you, and we are so excited to actually connect this community so that all of you smart, intelligent, dare I say gorgeous listeners have an opportunity to speak to more than just us. Our goal is to foster a place where people who are like-minded and interested in growing and living a little bit unconventionally have a place to chat.
Now back to our topic. You guys may recall Michelle and my favorite quote of all time. One of our favorite quotes of all time, which is that people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and they underestimate what they can do in 10 years.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
Dare I say Billy Gates? We're pretty close now. We've mentioned this quote quite a few times.
You dare not say that.
The point is, both in that quote and really what we're focusing on today is it takes a while for success, however you define it. It takes a while for success and mastery to happen.
Yes. Michelle and I are really seeing our podcast change and also grow. And that took a while. And that's why we really felt like this would be a great episode to tell you guys, we don't want you to quit either. We want you to continue whatever you love and continue pursuing it.
Sammie, I also love this piece that we were reading, The Making of an Expert from the Harvard Business Review. Really, really connected with a lot of different aspects of it. And the best part is, one of the authors, K. Anders Ericsson, it's his research that Malcolm Gladwell was referencing in Outliers when he was talking about the 10,000 hours you need to become an expert.
Yes, Michelle, I'm a huge K. Anders Ericsson fan. If you listen to any self-development podcasts or have read a lot of self-development books, he's often mentioned. In Malcolm Gladwell's book, Malcolm used his research to promote the idea of that 10,000 hours rule, which has become so popular.
Surprisingly, though, Sammie, there's a little bit of drama with this whole concept of the 10,000 hours.
Big
from
yikes.
Malcolm Gladwell's book.
We'll get into it later.
We'll get into that later. But the productivity space has comments.
But yes, Michelle, this piece from the Harvard Business Review, The Making of an Expert, it really talks about what makes people excellent. And they start out the piece by talking about these 3 girls who grow up with parents who are both chess professionals, and these parents instill the game of chess and the love of chess into all 3 of their daughters, who all eventually become chess grandmasters.
Not just grandmasters, they love chess. They're in their room with their flashlights, staying up late playing chess. They have developed these super chess playing women, and that was their intention. They actually went to go to their children and say hey, we want these women to be grandmasters, which is really awesome for them. Very cool. But the takeaway and the thing that I love that they said in this piece, experts are always made, not born.
Yes, always. They looked at all different kinds of fields, athletics, medical professionals, artists, musicians, firefighters.
Firefighters?
They specifically mentioned firefighters.
I just want to say, it's not that I don't think that you can't be an expert in firefighting. That just seems like a survival thing.
Yes.
I think first fire, you figure it out. But I don't know the space very well.
That's where you're wrong. Firefighters are built, not born, Michelle, okay?
They're definitely built.
Let's not get started on that.
Also, shout out to my friend Kat, who was a lady firefighter.
Yes. Outside of athletes who had some marginal benefits from, being taller or being a little fitter to begin with, all of these people, what they found is that experience and practice is what actually made them successful professionals.
I think this is what we're seeing too, even locally with the people that we know, the people that we see that are showing up every day, is that they're doing that. They keep showing up, they're applying themselves, they're getting better. I think a great example for this, for us, is dancing. I was just writing about my own experience dancing, but I know it's very similar to yours. Let me tell you something. Our mom, she did not want to put us in dancing when we were growing up. I don't know why.
We don't know why.
She put us in piano.
Tennis
lessons. Even karate.
Karate,
which I started karate, hated it, and then they just swapped me and Sammie.
Nobody told anybody. They asked me if I got a haircut, and I finished off the karate lessons.
So Sammie and I cumulatively have a yellow belt. Or whatever is first. But we always wanted to dance.
We love dancing.
And the thing is, we found ways to show up. Even when we were not that great, we would go to our little Indian Malayali community events and do dances with our friends. We would watch Bollywood movies, shaking our hips, doing the shimmy with Shah Rukh Khan, trying to, get it down. When I went to college, I actually was able to join our Ross team. I didn't make the team. I didn't make any dance. Of the 3 dance teams I tried out for, I got rejected by all of them.
At first.
But at first, I didn't succeed. But I picked myself up And I tried again. I tried it again the next year, made it on the team, still sucked, put in the bag, was not put in competitions, but I went to all the practices. I put a lot of effort into it, and eventually I was able to dance in the competition. I was in the competition the first time we placed third. And it was a beautiful moment. We were like crying on stage. We were so happy, like genuine, like makeup streaming down my face, tears of joy that we placed third. But it was a beautiful moment. But part of that was just years and years of showing up. And even though I wasn't the best, I was very committed to it. And that was the first time I really saw how doing something over a long period of time, even when you're sucking, even when you feel like you're the worst, even when they're putting you in the back and nobody can see you, and they're like, Michelle, we noticed that you forgot the formation halfway through and you led the team in the wrong direction. Even during those moments, they all pay off if you just keep showing up.
It's true. My little Michelle is a great dancer now. If not the greatest, she is definitely the most enthusiastic. And
let me tell you, if I go to a wedding, okay, I can keep a beat.
Mm-hmm.
I got a smile on my face.
True.
And that's all that matters. That's a heck of a lot better than a lot of people.
And to be honest, when I watched her dance performances, she is always the most exciting to watch because she is the most enthusiastic. And you would never guess that she was a terrible dancer before.
Stop, Sammie, you're too kind. And you as well. You know,
Thank
you have continually danced over the years, and we've both taken hip-hop classes, done a lot of fun stuff together.
Thank you.
We put in those 10,000 hours that Malcolm Gladwell speaks about.
And some might say that those 10,000 hours are a little bit controversial.
Oof, we're getting into the beef now.
We're getting into the beef. So Malcolm Gladwell, he read Anders Ericsson's research and then published this information in Outliers about the 10,000 hours. And some people say that he oversimplified the research.
Wow, read a whole book and then accuse him of oversimplifying.
In the piece that we read by K. Anders Ericsson,
From the source,
he talks about how practice alone will make you better, but it may not make you a great. As they say in the piece, living in a cave does not make you a geologist.
Oof.
They got jokes in this piece.
They got a sense of humor. You know what I think our metaphorical cave is, Sammie? Picture this. We're walking into a home. We're 5 or 6 years old. Everything is white. The couch is white. The floor is white. The walls are white. The art is white. The candles are white. It's our German piano teachers. And this was the first sense of somebody just being well off that I ever had.
Mm-hmm.
But I was excited to be there to chill with our piano teacher, who, quite frankly, seemed very happy to collect checks from our mom, but didn't really push us to practice. Our parents didn't really push us to practice. Honestly, it's on us. I regret everything about the fact that we took piano for years.
Like 9 years.
Yeah, like from when we were kids, like I think 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
My fingers were so small, I couldn't even start with playing like the actual piano keys. I had to like pound on the black keys.
Yeah, she would do these little songs with little fists.
And until we were in high school. I didn't quit until I went to high school. And we sucked the whole time. We never practiced. We had a bad mentality about it. Like, we got better for sure. But when you tell somebody that you spent almost a decade learning to play the piano,
yeah,
they are expecting you to be able to do literally anything on the piano. And unfortunately, we do fall short.
We fall short majorly. So just because you do something for a long time does not make you an expert. And it doesn't even make you excellent, as we know due to our piano lesson experience. The reason that you don't become an expert is because you lack what K. Anders Ericsson calls deliberate practice. Deliberate practice is not just practicing, not just doing the thing, but doing the thing with the intention of getting better. You might do this by carefully looking at what you're doing or tracking what you're doing and trying to beat your score or beat your time every time. Or you might bring on mentors or coaches. A key feature of deliberate practice is getting feedback and improving from that feedback.
Being able to run the game tape with somebody, a coach, somebody who is more experienced with you, who can say, hey, you suck. Just kidding.
Nobody said that.
Nobody said that. But give us actual feedback, like point out the things that you're doing that makes a difference. I actually remember this happened to me in sales too. In the last place that I worked, we had the opportunity to work with a really talented sales coach. And so I would bring my conversations, my recorded phone calls with clients to this coach, and he would just play the first minute and say, okay, what do you think? I would let him know, okay, I think I did a good job, killed it, oh my gosh, I'm the best. And he would say, okay, when the client said, oh, that sounds really interesting, you ignored it, and then you went forward and you started a monologue about the product. Or, hey, we have a system where we let them know ahead of time the time and the agenda. Like when I was working to improve my sales skills, over a 6 months period, that made a huge difference for me. And we almost never got past the first minute or two of the phone call. But having both of us review the call, take a look at what's going well, what can be improved, and making little adjustments week over week, once again, showing up time and time again, but being very deliberate about those changes made a huge difference. I went from being the worst, honestly, and sucking. And instead, all of a sudden, I was in a meeting and my solutions architect that I work with said, hey, I shared Michelle's call with the SVP of sales. I want to let everybody know that everybody should go listen to this conversation. It was so great. She had such good questions when she was talking to this client. And I was so excited about that, but it took months and months to get there. And it was tiny, tiny little things that happened with consistency and with small changes.
And Michelle, I know some people might be listening to that, for example, me, and think, that's a lot of work. The truth is, you don't have to apply deliberate practice to every single thing you're doing in your life. For example, I like to exercise regularly. I'm not trying to be a marathon runner. I'm not trying to be like a bodybuilder. I just want my bones to not decay and my muscles to be strong. So I'm not necessarily applying deliberate practice to my workouts, but I'm still showing up every week.
I love that point, Sammie, because I got this framework from the book Start Finishing by Charles Gilkley, and he actually talks about defining your desired level of success ahead of time for any task that you take on, whether that's piano lessons, dance, your job, being a parent, your job.
And I think I emphasize your job because I think maybe when you start your job, deliberate practice is huge because you want to become better at it. But then maybe over time, it's not the most important thing anymore. And I think it's okay to rein it back a little bit.
It's so true, Sammie. And he actually gives a rating system. 1, easy, 2, moderate, 3, epic. And the thing that he says is it's good to know what level you want to be at. Not to sell yourself short, but because to really understand that to be epic takes more time, more money, you're bringing on the coaches, you are spending hours thinking about this, you're really refining it, and there are things in your life that you might want to be epic at. And then there are some things, like for me, I want to learn to play piano. After all these years, I am dedicated again to learn. But I want to be easy level of success. My goal is to play one song, 2 hands, pop it out at parties if I need to. That's it. I'm not trying to be an adult Mozart. I'm not trying to be Beethoven.
I have to say, Michelle's just jealous of me because I've got about 3 or 4 songs up in my repertoire. And if there's a piano around, I bring out my songs and people are always like, oh my God, so beautiful. You practiced for 9 years, makes sense.
I swear to God, if I have to hear for at least one more time.
And then Michelle's like, I practiced for 9 years too. Here's 3 bland mice.
And then I take my now giant fist. So, takeaways, Sammie. Here's what we want you to leave this conversations with. it takes time to be good at something. So don't stop. Don't stop just because you're not seeing results right away. Don't stop because you don't see results in the first year. If you're enjoying what you're doing, honestly, just showing up does make a difference. And we are so excited to see so many people in our community starting to pick up cool things that they're interested in, like selling Notion templates online or buying domain names. That's like something I realize is like a thing now. Whatever it is, whatever your thing is, keep at it if you are enjoying it, and you are going to get better at it.
Takeaway number 2. To become a master, to become excellent at a craft, you have to incorporate deliberate practice.
And takeaway number 3, choose your level of engagement. Easy, moderate, epic.
Not everything you do has to be epic.
It takes a different level of commitment, time, money, energy. And you might want to be the best, or you might just want to be able to push your sister aside on the piano bench and play your own dang song once in a while. So before we say goodbye, it's community time.
Community time is here.
Community time is here.
This week, as part of our community time, I wanted to talk about something that I have been thoroughly enjoying, which is Ramit Sethi's podcast, I Will Teach You to Be Rich.
Oh, I do know you've been enjoying it.
Ramit Sethi's book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, is actually like one of the first finance books I ever read, so it did teach me a lot of basics. But his podcast is super interesting because he brings on couples and he talks to them about their financial problems.
Juicy.
It's super juicy. It's like the Maury or the Jerry Springer of like the finance world. It's like the one thing where I'm like yelling at the podcast because, you know, I don't watch TV and I'm not like a football person or anything like that. So it's like the one thing where like they'll be like, I paid off $100,000 in credit card debt. And 6 months later, I've got $50,000 of credit card debt again. And I'm like, no, what the?
I literally hear Sammie yelling at nothing. It seems like nothing because she has her headphones in and she's across the home and she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, Sammie, is everything okay? And she's like, sorry, I'm just listening to Ramit's podcast.
So yeah, if you're a finance nerd, I think this is like the ultimate podcast. It's so juicy. And it's just like, I mean, Ramit, I'm so impressed because I know him as like this hard-hitting, direct guy who like bluntly tells advice. And I did not realize how emotionally intelligent he is. Like he picks up on all these subtle cues that the couples give away when they're speaking. And he'll point it out during the episode. It's just really interesting.
Yeah, Sammie, I'm really excited to get into it. You're the second person. Our cousin Julie also recommended it to me this week. And I've been seeing clips of it on Twitter. And I'm really excited because I do, you know, sometimes you just want that good, like I want to get involved in other people's business.
Yes. It's like the highest low vibe thing I feel like I could do because I'm not trying to avoid low vibe stuff, but I'm like, it's still relatively high vibe, got a lot of good lessons and a lot of good points, but at the same time, super juicy and super entertaining.
Yeah, I respect these people for going on and like publicly talking about their financial issues. And I think that Ramit does a really good job of like helping the conversation come to a resolution.
It's impressive. And it's time for our community shout outs this week. First shout out is to our listener, Jess, who said she's been loving the interviews that we've had lately. We recently had Paul Millard of Pathless Path and Doc G of Taking Stock on our podcast, and those interviews, I agree, were so awesome. If you haven't listened to them, definitely check them out. And we actually still have 1 copy of each book available. So if you're interested in being that listener that gets that last copy, send us an email.
Send us an email, statusposadulting@gmail.com.
And most importantly, be sure to join us next time as we put down the rulebook and rethink the status quo.